Hi, fourth graders. Mrs. Greer and Mrs. Jackson assigned the same math today, but it looks a little differently, so I'm making two videos. All right, so you are on Module 4, Lesson 11, Problem Set. For problems 1 through 4, write an equation and solve for the unknown angle measurement numerically. All right, so we know that this whole circle, all the way around, has to be 360 degrees. We know that the acute angle is 20, so they want to know what number, D, what angle could D be that I could add to 20 to get 360? So in order to figure that out, I'll need to subtract 20 from 360. And so angle D would be 340 degrees. So I'd have to have 340 here and a 340 here, and I could type my answer. And then I hit submit, and it's correct. And I'll go to the next problem. It says fill in the second blank. Well, I think that's still 340, but I guess it could be 20. Let's see what it is. Oh, we got it correct. So this was 340, and then we're typing the same answer here for 340. And although that's not finished, your next one was number 2. Mine looks a little different than yours. So it says fill in the first blank with the larger angle measure. Well, I know that this is a right angle, so this must be 90 degrees. So that would be the smaller one. And I know that the whole thing, the whole circle would have to be 360. So what number could I add to 90 to get 360? To solve that, I'll need to subtract. 6 take away 9, no. Put 16 at the top. And so I got 270. And so my larger angle is 270. And it says type your answer below, and we'll type 270. Be careful with that. And you can submit. And that's correct. We'll go to the next problem. And it's the same thing. So 270 plus 90. So I know my second, it says now fill in the second blank, and that would have to be 90. And that was correct. Now fill in the third blank. So this one was 270. 270, which is what we solved for. And we know that this is 90. And so they're asking me to fill in the third blank. That would be this. So C is 270. And we got that. And then I can go here. And now we have number 3. All right, fill in the first blank with the smallest angle measure. So I know that this is 90 because it has this right here. And I know that this is much bigger than 90 because it's a much larger angle. So the smallest angle measure has to be 74. That was correct. Now I have to fill in the second blank. Well, I know that this one was 74 with the other known angle measurement. Well, the one I know has to be 90 because it's a right angle, and right angles are 90 degrees. So the next blank is 90 degrees. Now fill in the third blank. And so I know that this one was 90. So I had 74 and I had 90. I still don't know what this angle is, but I know the whole thing equals 360. So 74 plus 90 equals 164. But that's not the answer here because I need to subtract now from 360. And that'll give me the missing angle measurement. I can't take 4 from 0, so I'll have to borrow or regroup. 10 take away 4 is 6. 5 take away 6, nope. Have to regroup again. 15 take away 6, and then 2 take away 1. And so this would have to be 196. So the third blank will be 196. We'll go to the next one. Fill in the fourth blank. Well, the fourth blank, I'm hoping, is this, which would be 360. or it could be 196. I'm not exactly sure what it's going to be, but I think it's going to be 360. If they're asking for this, they're asking for this right here because we had 74 plus 90 plus 196. That equals 360. So I believe that's what they're asking, but let's see if we get that right. Oh, good, we got it right. And then the last blank here was the angle that we found right here. And so we had 74, we had 90, this one was 90. And then when we just did the work earlier, we found that this angle was 196 degrees, which would go here because they're asking what is angle E. And the fifth blank, E says 196. And I'll submit. That's good. And then we can go to the next question. I think it might be this one, but bear with me if it's not. Nope, we just did that one. Let me move down and move over. And here we are. Yes, number 4. All right, fill in the first blank with the smallest angle measure. All right, so we know that this one has to be 90 because it's a right angle. And we know that this one is 160. We know the whole thing has to be 360 degrees. So now we have to figure out, is this smaller than 90 or bigger than 90? And most of you would already guess that this is bigger than 90 because it's not a 90-degree angle. This would be a 90-degree angle, and it went past that. So my smallest would be 90. And so I'll type in 90 here. That was correct. Now it says fill in the second blank. So if I know that this one, well, it's a little off. I'll just erase that. Oh, I don't think I can. Okay, well, whatever. That's 90. This one has to be with the other known measure, which was 160. I'll type that in. A little glitchy today. Fill in the third blank. Well, just like before, we know that 160 plus 90 is 250, but that wouldn't be the answer here. Now I need to subtract from 360. 0 take away 0 is 0, 6 take away 5 is 1, 3 take away 2 is 1. And so that angle that's missing would be 110 degrees. There we go. That would be my third blank, 110. And I'll hit submit. And now the fourth blank was 360 because that's our total. And our next problem. And then the fifth blank, that missing angle was 110 degrees. Let me make sure I type that right. Yep. And we go to the next one. Good job. All right, so that was, let me move down. See what I have here. And I believe we need this one. Yes, number 5. For problems 5 through 7, write an equation and solve for the unknown angles numerically. So in number 5, they give us a lot of information. O is the intersection of A, B, C, and D. DOA is 160 and angle AOC is 120. So we have quite a bit of information here. All right, so I know that 160 is this angle, and the angle exactly the opposite is complementary. It means it's the same. So angle X is also 160. The same would be true for this angle here. AOC is 20, so the complementary angle right across from it would be 20. And so when it's asking me for X, that would be 160 degrees, and Y would be 20. And so we can explain it like this. It says write your equation here. Angle COB, well, I could say angle X is 160 degrees and angle y is 20 degrees. My equation would be 20 plus 160 plus 20 plus 160 equals 360 degrees. And I just added them all together. And then you can hit submit and it'll just record and you go to the next problem. It says now fill in the degrees for the first blank. For this and future questions involving degrees, just cite the number. It is assumed that the answers are in degrees. So the first blank here is x, and we know that x was 160 degrees. And the second blank was y, and we know that y was 20 degrees. And I think I am on this one now, number 6. Yes. O is the intersection of R at line RS and TB. TOS is 125 degrees, right? So we know that this angle is 125, which means that this angle right across the middle has to be 125, okay? And we know that the whole thing is 360 degrees. So 360 has to equal 125 plus 125 plus angle G, because we don't know what that is, plus angle I, because we don't know what that is. And so let's start with doing what we know. So 125 plus 125, most of you could do that in your head, but if not, we can just do it right here. And that would be 250. So I know that this is 250. I still need to figure out G and I. But if I subtract 360 from 250, it'll give me G and I together. So 360 minus 250 would be 110. But that's not the answer for G and I, because that's what if I added G and I together, I would get 110. So now I have to think what number plus the same number equals 110. The easiest way to figure that out would be to divide 110 by 2. So 2 cannot go into 1, but it can go into 11 5 times. So 5 times 2 is 10, and we subtract. Bring down the 0. And then 5 times 2 is 10 again, and you subtract, and you bring down the 0. And so each G and I have to be 55 degrees. All right, so now that we know all the angles, we can go down to the question, and it says, write your equation here. So it'll be 125 plus 125, plus 55 plus 55 equals 360 degrees. And then I could submit my answer. We'll just record it and go to the next problem. Now it says fill in the blanks. So I need to fill in G. Well, what we learned from the other one was this one, H was 125, and both of these together were 110. So 110 divided by 2 was 55. So it's asking me to fill in the first blank, and that's asking for G. So G was 55. Second blank was H, and H was 125 because it was the complementary angle of O. And then they're asking me for I, and I was a complementary for G, so that was also 55. And I believe we are almost done with this. I think this is the last one, number 7. Yes. O is the intersection of line WX, ZY, and UO. Angle XOZ is 36 degrees. So this one is probably the most complicated. All right, so we know right here that that's 90 degrees. And we know that Z, O, and X is 30 degrees. One line segment has to equal 180 degrees. So 90 plus M plus 36 must equal 180 degrees. All right, so I need to find 90 plus 36 first. Nine plus 3 is 12. But then I'll have to subtract from 180. 0 take away 6 I can't do. 10 take away 6 is 4. 7 take away 2 is 5. And so M would have to be 54 degrees. All right, so now I can do the same thing here. If ZOX is 36, the complementary angle right across from it would also be 36 degrees. So K would be 36. And now I can find the same thing here. If this whole line has to be 180 degrees, 36 plus N will equal 180 degrees. So 36 plus N equals 180 degrees. So I could subtract 180 and 36. Can't take 6 from 0, so I'll need to regroup. 10 take away 6 is 4. 7 take away 3 is 4, and I bring down that 1. And so this angle has to be 144 degrees. So now that we found all the angles, we can type our answer or type our equation. And I would have 90 plus 54 plus 36 plus 36 again plus 144 equals 360 degrees. All right, and then I can hit submit answer. And I'll go to the next problem. And now they're asking me for all of the answers here. So it says fill in the first blank. Well, K, remember, was complementary to ZOX, and that was 36. So our second blank was M, and when we found that from the other problem, that was 54. And then the third blank, I don't even remember what it was. This one was 54, and this one was 36, and we know that this is 90. And unfortunately, I can't look back, but 180 minus 36 again, just to refresh my memory, was 144. So my N was 144. And that should be all of your work.